Hello, welcome to my video on the central nervous system and aging.
Senescence is the process of deterioration with age. We lose muscle strength and control, be it in our smooth, muscle, and/or cardiac systems. Failure of said systems can lead to cardiovascular disease and cognitive impairment. We know about muscular atrophy, so the decrease in size or wasting away of a body part or tissue, but did you know that your axons themselves can go through atrophy? Parts of our interconnected roadways in the brain break or get clogged, decreasing our cognitive function, decreasing our ability to interact with the environment around us. Over time, DNA instability occurs due to chemical and radiological reactions within cells that are exposed to them, such as smoke, gas, the sun, gamma rays. At the microscopic level, the ends of the DNA, known as telomeres, shrink and fall apart, letting loose those DNA strands. For cleanup, our body undergoes autophagy, or cell recycling. As we age, this process is tired. Damaged proteins and molecules build up, no longer being effectively recycled, littering our body with garbage and not enough garbage collectors to keep up. Our nervous system has many cells, one of which is the mighty axon. Those axons have mitochondria in them to function. Distal axons, such as those in your fingertips, have greater amounts of mitochondria for the required precise motor control of our fingers. As we age and tasks with our hands become more difficult, we lose that distal fine motor control due to mitochondrial atrophy. In the brain, this loss of mitochondria falls under the term encephalon myopathy, or, if you break it down, internal brain muscle diseases. Before we go any further, what are some of the hallmarks of aging? The three primary hallmarks are, number 1, DNA instability, epigenetic alterations, telomere shrinkage, and proteostasis, protein homeostasis, and that disturbance. 2 would be mitochondrial dysfunction and deregulation, which leads to more senescent cells not being cleaned up by the garbage collectors and increasing infection risk. And 3, general apoptosis, stem cell depletion, and unbalanced intercellular communication. These three sets of hallmarks combine to explain how we see the geriatric population: hair falling out, mottling of the skin, sagging of the skin, mobility issues, UTIs, that kind of thing. Our stem cells do not differentiate well as we age, and therefore patients can become anemic, which impacts ATP production, leading to atrophy, etc. For example, reduction of oligodendrocyte progenitors reduces new oligodendrocyte production, therefore decreased myelination, such as in our alpha muscle fibers or myelination depletion of the white matter in the central nervous system. This process is referred to as stem cell exhaustion. Remyelination can be difficult as inflammatory responses to myelin damage get in the way, and damaged cholesterol is not removed and/or recycled. Therefore, debris increases, which demands a greater lymphocyte attention to clean up the mess, getting in the way of repairs. Our lymphatic system is constantly overtaxed and underpaid, surely like our fellow public servants. Now, I just mentioned cholesterol. What does cholesterol have to do with the central nervous system? Cholesterol is directly used in the structure of the myelin itself. On average, the body produces 3,000 milligrams a day of cholesterol. That's one of the reasons why we worry about our cholesterol levels, as they have a direct impact on how our axons function, or more accurately, the health of our myelin. Basically, there is a set balance of cholesterol that the body needs for peak performance. Too much or too little will greatly affect our myelin sheaths. Oligodendrocytes create the myelination around the central nervous system axons. As we age, oligodendrocytes begin to dysregulate, which in turn causes decreased remyelination when that myelin is damaged for whatever reason. Because of this, we have decreased cholesterol synthesis, as well as decreased percent of cholesterol content in the aging myelin membranes. In a study with patients from 20 to 80 years old, there was up to a 45% decrease in myelinated axons, those of our somatic and autonomic sympathetic system, possibly due to oligodendrocytes not receiving enough ATP. Another system that will fail with age is our lymphatic system. We have decreased antibody production, and our thymus, the primary organ of the lymphatic system, begins to degrade. We produce less macrophages, lymphocytes, etc. More garbage on the streets, less garbage collectors available, and those that are left are, as said before, overworked, underfed, underpaid, some may be on medical leave. To bring it back to the brain, we find disturbances in the force. Abundant alterations take place in the brain either widely or locally, be it global atrophy or focal atrophy, respectively. This could affect our white matter, gray matter, or sometimes both. According to a study for individuals over 60 years old, 0.5% of brain volume is lost annually. If a person is 90 years old, they should have a decreased brain volume of 15%. As neurological cells atrophy, there is a decrease in dendrites and synapses. This affects people differently, but it seems like some regions of the brain are more affected than others. Some places of greater atrophy would be the hippocampus and the putamen. Some places of less atrophy would be the thalamus and amygdala. So what are some of the pathologies that occur due to a failing central nervous system? In Alzheimer's disease, deficits in the telomere maintenance of chromosomes in turn leads to inflammation and cognitive defects down the line. In addition, the functions of the brain that will fail with time, such as memory, learning, and behavior centers, also contribute to further exacerbation of Alzheimer's. This is due to the axons delivering action potentials no longer working optimally, breaking down the lines of communication throughout the affected areas of the brain. In Parkinson's disease, we see severe cognitive, postural, gait, and motor impairments. Some issues with the disease that can also be found in aging by default are the senescence of cells, mitochondrial dysfunction, and inflammation. As neural cells atrophy, dopaminergic neurons in the brain fail as they require extensive amounts of calcium ions and their respective channels to sustain their activity with age. This heavier use of calcium ions in everything from muscle contraction to acetylcholine release will add more stress on the mitochondria, which are already in a state of dysfunction. What can we do about this? Diet and exercise matter. Proper intake of nutrients and the use of muscles will postpone some of the effects of aging. We can also look at neuroplasticity, which can be used to create new brain pathways to make life easier for patients with Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. But at the same time, the body will also be creating negative neuroplasticity pathways as systems begin to fail. We can also look at general symptom management, such as pain meds, antidepressants, and sometimes just a shoulder to lean on, as all these things can help people in distress. In extension to that, we can also look at physical and speech therapy, which can be used to help them as well.
Thank you for watching. Goodbye.